Remus could hear Slughorn's chuckle at that. Yes, quite. Now, I must be going, McGonagall was saying, her footsteps approaching the door. You will let me know if you catch the culprit? The door swung open. Remus and Lily stepped back, guiltily. McGonagall looked down at them through her spectacles. What are you two Gryffindors doing so far from their tower? Please, Professor, Remus and I were only... Ah! Slughorn cut off Lily's nervous rambling. Lupin, my boy, and Miss Evans. Come to offer Snape's apology, eh? No need, dear girl, no need. With everything going on today, I think we can cancel the boy's detention, for now. He came to the door and looked down at Remus severely. If it is understood that there will be no more fighting in my classes, or any classes for that matter, Yes, Professor. Remus nodded solemnly, trying not to look too pleased. Excellent. Slughorn beamed, locking the door to his office. Then if you excuse me, I've some inquiries to make. Remus and Lily had almost made it to the end of the hall when McGonagall suddenly called out, Mr. Lupin? Remus' heart sank. Yes, Professor McGonagall? That isn't to say that your detention with me has been cancelled. Come along now. We'll get started early.
I'm gonna kill my balls.
I like this one better because I can do this. McGonagall had him doing lines for an hour. Not too bad, considering he was used to canning at St. Edmund's. He didn't mind copying and repetition. It was soothing. I will complete all assignment sets. Perhaps he'd swallow his pride next time and copy James's homework, or Pete's if he didn't want to look too suspicious. But he knew that James would eventually want to know why Remus never read the set text. And if he told him, then he was equally sure that James and Sirius would try to get him to explain to McGonagall. Both boys had unwavering faith in the teachers of Hogwarts. Remus, however, had never met any adult he trusted. She'd have him sent back to St. Edmund's at once. What good was an illiterate wizard to anyone? Right. Once his detention was finished, he climbed through the portrait hole and into the common room to find his 3 roommates waiting for him. Peter and James were engaged in a very serious-looking game of chess. Of course, the pieces were moving. Remus thought to himself, everything has to bloody move in this castle. While Sirius was listening to one of his records through a very posh-looking set of brand-new headphones, Remus was dying to have a listen, but he hadn't worked up the courage to ask yet. He sat down next to Sirius quietly. The long-haired boy pulled his headphones off at once. That was quick. Only had to end up doing one, Remus explained. Slughorn let me off. Too busy trying to sort out the itching powder thing. Sirius grinned broadly, leaning back to the couch with his arms folded under his head. That prank is just the gift that keeps on giving. Snape was allergic and everything, Remus said, smirking. That ginger girl said he'd been in the hospital wing all day. Sirius laughed even louder. His eyes grew bright when he laughed. Remus had never seen anybody exhibit such pure joy. It made you want to punch him and be his friend all at the same time. Which ginger girl? James looked up suddenly. Checkmate! Peter cried. You know, the annoying one. Evans? I don't think she's annoying. Okay, Remus shrugged. Let's not talk about girls, Sirius rolled his eyes. This might be the most important day of our lives. This is the day we become legends. The day our friendship was forged in the fire of itching powder. They don't know it was us, do they? Peter asked nervously, tidying away his chess set. Remus shook his head. Slughorns reckon it was a Slytherin girl, or a gang of marauders. Marauders! Sirius sat up suddenly. That's it! Raise your glasses, boys. We don't have glasses, James replied, amused. Well, just pretend. Sirius shook his head irritably. From this day forward, we are the Marauders. He said this with such a dramatic flourish that it could only be followed by stunned silence. James was grinning, Peter glancing at him for direction, not quite understanding what was going on. Remus burst out into laughter. What sort of Ponzi game name is that?